Hello, and welcome back to the latest episode of ADHD Generations. I've got my lovely co-host and mum next to me, Esther, or mum as I call her. And then we've got our lovely guest, Sal, who's going to tell us a little bit about his journey. So I'll hand over to mum to...
Yes, to hand over to me,
Yeah.
Sal, basically. Sal, you've been on a journey of discovery through early life education and into coaching. And we had a chat with you a few weeks ago, and we were just so blown away, weren't we, about your story. We just couldn't wait to get you on the podcast and hear more about this amazing journey that you've been on. So just for a starter, how did you get into education?
By accident, honestly. I could tell you the fabricated version, but the true version, I was working in marketing and I landed a huge contract. My manager decided I was too fresh for this and stepped in and said, I'm going to take this over. ADHD, the justice and took over, and I gave him a few words, walked out, called up Greenwich University and said, I'd like to join the PGCE. And they said, well, it's a bit late. The course has started, but if you come in and you do this essay and etc. And I thought, essay? I don't want to do an essay. So phoned Goldsmiths and said, did you receive my application? And they said, what application? We'll have a look. So I sent an application in. Next day they phoned and said, we're really sorry, we found it.
That's my kind of way to get a job, that.
Walked into the interview. They said, the course has started 2 weeks ago, but we do have one place. Someone dropped out. And we're interviewing 2 people. And as I went in, they shook hands with the other person and said, yeah, see you in half an hour with your certificates. And I thought, right, okay, this is the only window I have.
Yeah.
So I went in and gave them the talk. I think it was everyone has a vision, and it's usually in black and white. I want to turn mine into colour. And they said, okay, if you get your certificates, and then we'll do an assessment between you and the other candidate. And I said, well, Greenwich have offered me an unconditional place, and they need a reply by this afternoon, really. And I would love to work at Goldsmiths because it's such a big institution. And I didn't mention that it's only 5 minutes walk away from home. They said, would you mind sitting outside? Came back about 5 minutes later. I shook my hand, said, congratulations, you're on the course. At that moment, the poor chap turned up with his certificate. And I thought, I'm going to leave you to this conversation.
Yeah.
And that's how I entered into my PGCE.
So what was that? Okay, I 100% see that you were really dissed by this boss. But what was it that made you think, oh, PGCE, that's the thing for me?
Probably the words of my dad echoing in my mind: get a job or do some more qualifications. And I thought, I tried the job, and I mean, after you leaving university, I did 6 months with the Ministry of Defence, working in Greenwich, the Royal Naval College. I had a nuclear reactor there. And I did boiler chemistry, so secondary boiler chemistry, had to sign the Official Secrets Act, and it was the most boring job in the world. So 17 hours of waiting for half an hour of an experiment.
No.
I didn't know, I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD then, just dyslexia, but that was just, I couldn't cope with that, and I had to find ways to entertain myself, such as uninstalling and reinstalling printers for the commander, just so that we had something to talk about. He would turn up in the morning and say, I've pressed something and it's awful and it's all gone. Don't tell anyone. And he'd exchange his stories about service while I'll pretend to do like an hour installation, which was just 2 minutes. There was only so long I could manage that.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, another justice issue sort of happened there. The my direct manager was dabbling in a bit of infidelity,
Oh God.
and he had these pictures of his family and his children on his desk, and I'd walk in and he'd be talking to his wife, all very happy, and to me it was like, oh my God, how can you do this? How can you be
Yeah.
that kind of person? I can't work for you. And so I walked out of there, various temping jobs, and again, I think for a lot of my early attempts at work, it was a lot of me not feeling comfortable working for somebody with loose morals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then while I was at uni, I was always teaching. So in the first year, maths was something that came naturally to me, and as part of the chemistry course, we had to do some calculus, and a lot of the people I made friends with had no idea, and our lecturer was not very good, very
Oh.
very very good, and he would leave, and then I'd get up and I would go over. This is what he meant to teach you. And so the university decided, actually, can you just run a few classes?
Oh,
And
nice.
so, yeah, and so I think I got into teaching that way, and it just felt good. Even when I did start the PGCE course, I can remember the day where I thought, this is just, I hadn't done a single lesson, and I was thinking, this is not what I want to do. This is not stimulating. This is not working. Um, my mentor teacher came in and said, you've got 40 minutes. You're teaching year sevens. You're teaching them evaporation. And it was like, and now I can recognize the urgency. Yes, the urgency was there. I can do this. And I did the lesson, and with a co-student. At the end of it, they said, that was amazing. There was an incident where a boy refused to work and picked his book up and threw it across the class. And I just calmly went up to him and said, you need to pick that book up, and now you need to go and sit at the back of the class. And he did it. And he was like, that's amazing. You didn't lose your temper. You weren't phased. And yeah, and I thought, yes, this is what I want to do.
Nice.
And what subject were you when you went into that room that day and like blagged your way onto that PGCE? What subject were you intending to teach? Was it chemistry?
Chemistry, yeah. Yeah.
And that was your degree subject as well.
I did analytical science, which is like 2/3 chemistry.
Amazing. So you got through your PGCE. Then what
Yes.
happened?
So I ended up working in my second placement school, which was very close to Goldsmiths College and home, and had a lot of my old teachers. My old school had closed down, but the teachers had been spread locally, and the head teacher was my old geography teacher. My head of department was my old science teacher. So a lot of familiar faces. And I can remember first day at school, everyone in the hall, and the classes had a big assembly, welcome back, and then they would call out the classes, and you'd go off with your first subject teacher. And I was given a year 11 class, the very, very bottom year 11 class, like 11Z or something like that. And they were all looking at me, and this was in Brockley, so southeast London. And they were looking at me, and they were cutting their eyes and kissing their teeth, and walked in with their hoodies under their uniform, very very intimidating to a, what was I, 23-year-old, 24, something like that. Went into the classroom, which was a absolute box. And I'd come in the summer holidays and painted it purple. And the blackboard, I had to repaint the blackboard because I thought purple's a calming color. It will calm people down. I'll paint it all purple. So and sort of pinned the curtain on because it was half hanging off, half hanging on.
Oh.
And they came in, first lesson, these year 11 said, we're going to make you cry and we're going to make you leave just like every other teacher.
no.
And my reaction was, they've not had consistency, and that's what they need. And that class sticks in my memory. I can remember there's quite a few gang members in there. There were quite a few students who had offered me certain herbal medications. One of the parents, even at parents' evening, said, I would offer you some medication, but you seem very relaxed. What do you take? So I remember lesson starters for them. I would have these break boards because I used to do a lot of martial arts. So they get these break boards which you hit and they break. And as they would come in, they would have to hit them, and they would either headbutt them or punch them or ram them, and that would be like them venting just before they came in. Yeah, Ofsted, my very first Ofsted experience, they observed me with that class, doing multiple experiments involving Bunsen burners and heating oil. And at the end of it, the Ofsted inspector said that was a very, very good lesson. And of course, oppositional defiance me said, thank you, but can you tell me how you're qualified to judge my lesson? He wasn't a science specialist. Yes. So trotted off to the head's office. Yes, you don't speak to inspectors like that. So that's school. Amazing memories. One of the students there later came to my wedding in Holland. I went to teach in Holland, and we stayed in contact. Yeah. So
That's lovely.
Yeah.
So it feels like you made a big difference to those kids.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah, I think that's what my focus in education has been. As working as a head of department, I would always take the worst groups, the ones with the biggest behavior problems, the ones with the lowest grades, the lowest motivation, because I was that student, and I had no idea about neurodivergence. So this is what was that 1999 to early 2000s, and just had no idea. And I just thought these are like me. They're grown up in a city. We've got the same sort of stimulus, and it was just about making what interested me in science and getting them all interested. And mostly it was about doing experiments and just the wonder, the amazing and infusing. And I can remember in that school, we used to pick up a student because he was afraid to come to school in my tutor group. He was because gangs wanted to press him into gangs, and he didn't want to go into gangs. So I arranged with his mum and with the school. I passed his house on the way, so I'd pick him up and I'd drop him off. And and I think I've sort of continued that sort of a level of care and considerations for my students.
Yeah. There was I may have told you this story before, but when Lewis went to secondary school, there were, on the school's website, it gave a list of the teachers and their little tiny biog about them. And each one of the teachers on the list, barring two, said things like, I'm really passionate about geography and I want to share knowledge about geography with my students, or I'm really passionate about maths and I want my students to love maths. But two of them said, I'm really passionate about working with kids and I really want to do my best for kids. And I was like, those are the two teachers that you got on with, right? And it feels like when we met you, we felt like you were that teacher as well,
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely miss teaching, but it's the gubbins that go with it. Now, academy trusts and hedge funds running schools, and it's just again that justice drive. I was a union rep at schools, and took a head to tribunal, and I didn't like the way education was going. I think the biggest moment for me was as a head of science. I had this year 11 class, and they were getting E's and D's. So this is 2003, 2004. proper inner city Croydon boys,
Mm.
all boys school. I remember when I went to the school, they wouldn't show me any of the classes. I was just through the window. And this is when I was coming back from Holland. And so they said, can we have your number so we can call you? And it was a Dutch mobile number. And I said, it looks like you just made these numbers up. And you just sit there while we test the phone. And so, yeah, they didn't see any of the classes, met one member of staff, and, then whiz. Yeah, okay. Literally, I'd left the building, got the phone call, please, we'd like you as our head of science. And so this was 4 years into a career, or 5 years into a career of teaching, and I'd become a head of science at a school called Stanley Tech High School in South Norwood, Croydon. Stanley Tech, do you have an email address? No. What's that? Hey, so the tech isn't the type of tech that I'm thinking.
What sort of tech was it?
Fax machines?
They were initially created as a boys' school for teaching woodwork and metalwork.
Oh.
Which
So,
they would have considered to be technology
Yeah,
back in the day.
Technical with
Yeah.
your hands, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so going back to this story, I worked really hard with this class and highs and lows, and a month, so January, when you're putting the exam data in, the head teacher called me in and said, yeah, we're not entering anyone in that class. There was 11 students, and I was, why? Because they're all getting E's and D's. I was, yeah, but before they were getting U's, and some of them weren't even coming into school.
Yes.
Yes, but that lowers our statistics.
Oh God.
And you need to have that conversation with them. And by this time, I had got them to complete all of their coursework. I got them to engage. I got them to sit and try to work through exam papers. And we had such good rapport with Joke, and it was just heartbreaking telling them that. And there was a few students who never forgave me, never came back to school. They were just like, "What's the point?" And so that just really opened my eyes to the way management can run a school.
Yeah. The tick boxes, the benchmarks, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you, looking back, you said earlier on that you didn't really know too much about neurodiversity and neurodivergence at the time. Looking back, can you see any correlations or any patterns around the kids who weren't doing well and neurodivergence at all?
Yeah, totally. The overwhelm, the impulsivity, the also the sense of justice. Just that, well, don't you care about me? I'm not doing well. It's not just school; it's life. And don't you care about me? You just want me to. What's the point of learning this? How's that helping me? So yeah, definitely, and that, and 10 schools later, sort of made me realize coaching was the natural progression, the natural route for me.
Yeah.
Was that around the time you discovered you were neurodivergent yourself?
No. So I'd gone through various schools, and after leaving, I never used to burn bridges. That's not a good thing. I used to blow them up. So, after working in 8 schools around London, and working for the 2 biggest academy trusts, so I don't know if I told you the Christmas tree story.
I don't know, but tell us again.
Yeah, definitely.
So the very first academies to open were the Harris Trust academies in London, and Harris School was a school in Croydon, Crystal Palace, which was like the best school. They always talked about it, and Stanley Tech was like, "Oh my God, that's the worst school." And we would always have conflict between staff and students. And so Harris School took over, and it's going to take us over. And I was head of science, so I'd spent the whole year contacting the head of Harris School, the head of science, and the head teacher. I know you're going to take over. I recognize it now as the ADHD. I need structure. I need ideas. I need to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Tell me what curriculum you're going to do, what specification, what. No replies. So I just kept on going, no replies. And then the Christmas, they said, right, we're interviewing for the positions. And I thought, so we will have to re-interview for our jobs. And they offered me the interview for the director of science, which was the head of science, and just with a bigger title. We all went in the minibus at Christmas time down to the Harris School, and interviewed. And I remember during the interview, the head of Harris School yawning and looking at his watch, and at one time going like this to me. And
God.
And I did in my interview, I just said, I can see, I won't say his name, but I can see the about.
Yeah, we'll cut that, don't worry.
Telling me to hurry up. So I will wind up, although I've got more, and I wound up. And then at the end of it, as we were leaving, we tried to steal the Christmas tree from the foyer.
You tried to steal it, but didn't succeed, I'm guessing.
No, it was wired in, and I think it was cabled in as well. I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the best school that I've worked in terms of staff camaraderie.
Yeah, sounds like it.
The teacher we had was amazing. He would stand at the school gates with plimsolls and a black bag, and he would take trainers off, give the students plimsolls, and do the reverse at the end of the day. Lunchtime, he would wander around the dining hall, and if he saw kids sitting alone or with no food, he would say, "Join the queue," and they would be given lunch. They didn't have to pay for it.
Nice.
And behavior, he would walk the corridors, and he would look into the class. If he saw anything that wasn't going well, he would come in and say to the kid, "Oi, you, with me." And it was like the game of worms, where the worm gets longer, and he would have this chain of kids who would then in the school hall, and they would all do some what did he call it? CCI, curriculum colouring in. And he would never question the teacher. If he came in, he would never say, "What's going on?" No, it was straight away. He saw the misbehaviour, and that was it. Yeah, so he totally supported. And afterwards, he'd come and ask the teacher and discuss that. Yeah, he was amazing. And when the academy took over, they decided he wasn't the type of person they wanted. So he went on and was very successful at a school in Kent. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. So coaching then, how did that all come about?
I think that was a question, didn't I? It's diverted.
Yeah, it's all right. This is an ADHD podcast, mate. So there's a lot of train tracks going everywhere.
Yeah. So for me, I never made the connection between the sort of behaviour and sort of mental health and ADHD. To me, ADHD was the hyperactive students that I taught in the city of London. So after moving out to Devon, worked in a state school where I felt I'd retired. I was warned about students, but it was like I just said, "Excuse me," and it was like, "Oh, sorry, sir." But no knives, no disarming, none of that. Oh. And then I blew a bridge up and went and worked at an independent boarding school. And again, my options were I'm leaving education or I'm going to give it one more go, but in a totally different setting. And it was amazing. It was like when I started teaching in '97. It was you teach how you want to teach, because teaching is about you and your personality.
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
And I remember making the year 10 girls cry with my reports and having reports sent back to me saying, "No, you've been too honest. You need to say how lovely they are." Remember, this is an independent school, and our reports are our PR. And yeah, I remember that same group of year 10 girls complaining to the head of chemistry, because he was their hockey coach as well. He's so mean, and he's so sarcastic. And but then by Christmas they absolutely loved me, and all of them wanted to do a chemistry A level. By year 11 they were apologizing. Sorry sir, I know we're going to get nines and we're doing so well, but we don't really like chemistry. We just like you. So yeah,
That's
yeah. But then lockdown happened,
mm.
and my structure, my routine, everything went out the window, and I had a breakdown. And I didn't show it because we're working on screen, so I would pull myself together, get on screen, and figure out how to work teams and everything else that was demanded of us, and teach all of these little icons who I knew were not there. And one person accidentally, left their camera on, and I could see they were sitting there sewing something. And I said, "I don't mind. You carry on. So, in fact, tell me what you're doing." But yeah, and it was probably 2021, after we had the second lockdown and the slow reintegration. I thought, why was it? Why did that happen to me? That's not like me. I'm normally very resilient. I'm the tough one. I very rarely show my emotions or let them sort of rule over my decisions. And that's when the school started running a coaching course. So,
Ah.
and so I went in through the coaching there, and everyone said, "Oh, you were amazing. That was brilliant. You really looked like you were listening." And I thought, okay, I want to investigate the coaching, and I looked at coaching and education, and that led me to look at ADHD and neurodivergence. And our head of SEN, from the day she started, we used to sit and have lots of chats, and she would say, "Yep, you got ADHD. Yep, you got ADHD," every time. And so I thought, okay, let's find out. And yeah, lo and behold, yeah, at the age of 49, 48, diagnosed with ADHD, and then
What did
later
that
on with autism.
what did that diagnosis, both of those diagnoses, what impact did they have on you?
Oh, gave me so much clarity on my past. Definitely, yeah. Always being called, you've got so much more potential. Lazy, or just explaining my behaviours in terms of feeling that overpowering judgment from every action, from how I would walk, to how you talk, and all sorts of things, and heavily masking. I can remember my A-level chemistry class was the only class I did not mask in. And every other opportunity at school, I just became the person who was very nice, very kind, very, yeah. And yeah, at home, mask came off, and I can remember growing up, I was involved, getting borderline. We grew up in Hackney, and so borderline, I could have gone totally down an illegal route, totally. But my parents moved to the other side of the river, south side, and sorry, south side, and yeah. And then I remember in year 9 going into school, and first day, these twins, I can't remember what their names were, but we used to call them the smelly twins, came up to me and said, "You're new to the school," and punched me in the arm. And I thought, this is all going to happen again, because at the other school, I'd fallen out with absolutely everybody, and I'd had a fight every single day. I used to burst into tears in front of teachers and say, you're not doing anything to help me. I used to walk into assemblies with blood coming out of my nose after being in a fight, and the head teacher would just blink and carry on. And so I thought, this is all starting again. And I thought, actually, no, it's not. And I punched him back, and he didn't expect that. I was tiny. He did not expect that. And that was the last time I hit anybody outside of the ring. I had that caveat, but and that was it. And it was just I've totally lost the thread again, but
It's okay, because this thread is going in a few different directions.
Yeah.
We did say it was a journey, and not all journeys are in a straight line.
No.
yeah.
So with the martial arts stuff, was that when it started, when kind of an anti-bullying tactic?
No. So the martial arts, I was always questioning faith and sort of ideology. And growing up as a young Muslim, we'd go to school straight after school, have some tea, and then we're off to madrasa, a mosque, where by a certain age we'd have to finish the Quran. And it was, and to me, it was, I'm learning Arabic, I'm not understanding it.
Right.
A lot of the Islam I learnt was because you have to. And my dad, when he came, he was brought over by Vauxhall to come and work in Luton. And when he moved to London, he said he wanted to move somewhere where the community wasn't, because he wanted us to fully integrate. So
Oh.
we were dropped in the middle of a council estate in Hackney, where there were maybe one other Asian family.
Ah.
And so that made it, engaging with religion and culture, even more difficult. My first Bengali friend, first Pakistani friend, was at university. So you know, I was always questioning. And Tao and Bruce Lee and his philosophy is what engaged me. That totally sort of caught me, and I'm sure he had ADHD. And so yeah, and then I just, from the age of about 16 up until my 40s, got involved in various martial arts. And yeah, I just felt it, and accidentally it helped me with the exercise part of what I know I need. So
Mm. So there's something. Is there something there about being an outsider in a few different ways? But then martial arts kind of, was there a sense of belonging, or what was it about it, that about martial arts, that you loved?
um, I think it was, yeah, there was belonging, but it was also being able to, I think I hit a hyper focus.
Mm.
And because I would, at the age of 15, 16, I would tie a dumbbell to my foot and throw it over the door to learn how to do the splits.
Oh
And
God.
and I remember going to a taekwondo class, and they were all stretching and trying to get into the splits. And one of the exercises was the person puts your foot on their shoulder and they slowly stand up. And with me, they stood up, and I said, keep going. So then they grabbed my foot and they back, and with both feet, one that side and then the other side. And when I was in my peak, I'd say in my early 20s, I could kick faster than people could punch. So,
Nice.
and I just
Wild.
got that hyper focus of watching all of these Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and just, you know, trying to mimic that. I suppose a lot of people sort of like find their skateboarding or parkour and things like that. And so for me, that was my hyper focus. I really got into it. I don't think I engaged so much with the people. It was just, I'm going to turn up. I'm going to work hard on myself, and you know, be really good.
It's so interesting, because there's this thing about ADHDers. Um, ADHDers tend to, I'm generalizing obviously, have these hobbies that can be quite short lived, and then they have their hobby graveyard, and then the things that they've tried have like only lasted a few weeks, and then we've got the kind of whole autistic long term hyper focus thing, and then an ADHD can have a mixture of both of those two things, which I have found as well. One of the reasons I realized I was ADHD was because I had really identified with that 20-year hobby thing,
Yeah.
but also a whole bunch of little ones as well.
Yes.
Yes,
I-
I have my
Have you,
guitars around me.
have you got that, like short term ones as well alongside your long term ones?
I think my long term ones would be the martial arts, fitness. So just lived in the gym for a while. I was first 10 years of teaching, and computers and gaming. They're my long term. My short term are many languages, learning the guitar. Air pistols was one during lockdown. I started air pistols. I've got a nice long garden, and it was really calming. You could focus, and yeah, it didn't mean you needed to buy 20 different air pistols. So yeah, no, lots of short-lived, again, and going back to the discovery of ADHD, that was one of the things that made me think, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to that, with the coaching I received in school and looking at the options and discussing it with school, one of my ex-students contacted me, and she was a coach, and said, "Would you like to start coaching? You've always been brilliant." And I mean, to me, at tutor time, I used to think that was the most pointless time in school, doing a register and then having to, today we're doing reading, and today we're doing this, and so I would never do that. I would just sit there and chat with them. And if they're having a rough time, I'd say, okay, try this excuse with the teacher. And if they all came in with wet shoes, I'd put them on the radiator and dry them with a hairdryer. Or I had girls who had, they'd had their periods just come on and they were really upset. And I said, go and crouch by the radiator and put the heat on your back. That was tutor time for me. And for me, it was in that moment, it was just me avoiding doing this pointless work the school had asked me to do. But now that I hear it from the other side, to the students, it was, you really cared about us, sir. And maybe I did, but I wasn't doing it because I know it sounds harsh. I wasn't doing it because I was trying to care. I was reacting to what was put in front of me, and so
yeah, it feels like caring, but it might not be kind of lots of emotion of caring, but caring in a way that is a logical kind of caring. If you does that sounds quite autistic, doesn't it, to me?
I was going to say that's me. My emotions are logical.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because if you see someone hurting or suffering or struggling, then you want to come up with some kind of solution. Or
straight away. I've upset many a girlfriend by trying to fix the problem rather than just listening. So
okay, so you've decided that you want to do that. You've done the coaching training and you're now coaching. What happened next?
So I talked to my school, and bear in mind I was in a boarding school, so we had 6 days a week. Finish at 4, and then from 4 till 5 sports. So, and we have to do the sports, and once every 2 weeks we do a boarding duty. So it was full on. And so I said to them, look, I want to do part-time. And they really frowned on it because it was, no, you're invested in our model. You're invested in our school, I believe. We've been here since 1606 and so on. And I was like, it's not even 10 past 4. What do you mean 16?
Good gag.
Like that.
And I everywhere I've gone, I've always produced amazing results. And I think that helped. And they said, we want you to stay. So Wednesdays was a half day. We'll give you the Wednesday off. And so I was preferred the half day. That was the Saturday.
Yeah.
And then I got contacted by an organisation that contracts for NHS Essex for CAMS, and they interviewed me and said, "Oh, you sound exactly like us. We want you on our team. We don't normally take people so far away, but it's all online anyway." And and I started up with them, and now I do 16 hours a week with them. 18 months of having worked with them and with students who are, I would say, mostly in neurodivergent crisis. And it's amazing. It's like if you take a year in education, you can distill those moments, those contact points where you feel you've made a difference. You could probably in a year you could probably come out with an hour, and with the coaching, every hour is like that, and it's just such a big dopamine rush. Um, I know sometimes where I felt I've had a, an individual just bouncing up and down on the screen. Look at me, I'm on my trampoline, and I'm thinking I'm not getting anywhere with this person, you know. And then when I talk to the mum, they say, "Oh yeah, he's going around school and he's teaching them all his grounding. He's telling them all about his coach Sal, and you know."
Nice.
And then last session, it's like tears. Oh, you know, I don't want to lose you, and
Oh.
yeah, and it's just knowing that I'm making every single time I think I'm not making a difference, the universe reaches out and says, "Here's a message." I mean, literally, I just finished a cycle, and there was one individual who I thought was perfect. They were able to talk to me. You know, they were able to relate. They found this calm place, but I don't think they didn't engage in any of the strategies or. And I thought I've not done the best for this person, and so I felt a little bit deflated. I felt knocked off my tightrope, and my friends were saying, you know, are you okay? You're a bit quiet, you're a bit distant, withdrawn, and it was just bad day at the office, and it's sort of lingered. And then I got a message saying they've applied to be put back onto the 6-week NHS program because the mum felt it made such a big difference. And then went on to say, oh yeah, and she's been doing your journaling and this and all of these things. And it's like, oh my God. Yeah. And I'd brought that up at supervision saying, you know, this has really knocked me. And it's just, yeah, it was like I said, the universe reached out and said, you know what, you're doing okay.
Mm.
We don't always know, do we, the impact that we're having on other people, even our clients. You know, and if we've worked with them for a number of weeks and then they've gone away, and we might never hear from them again. We might never know what
Yeah.
impacts we had for somebody. It's kind of it's that one of the reasons why it's such a lovely job, because quite often you see those moments happen in front of your eyes, and they quite often tell you when they're having like progress or something's gone really well. But just having that person who's not sharing what they're going through, but it's having an impact in a different way, that must be just lovely to know.
Yeah.
And for some
So
people, it takes quite a lot of processing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
yeah.
So are you doing any? You're not doing any teaching anymore. It's all coaching now. Is that right?
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of students who I coached for their exams. And it was interesting being the other side. You know, they're all trying to get ready and helping them get ready for the exams and not giving them subject knowledge. But again, they're all neurodivergent, all the Pomodoros and different ways of engaging with the information. Seeing it from that side, yeah, again, that was really eye-opening, and they were so thankful. They were, one of the students was, you know, for his mock exams, he'd worked harder than he'd ever worked for his GCSEs, and
Nice.
dealing with parents as well. You know, on one hand, you're trying to keep the individual on an even keel. The other hand, the parents are frantic because they have these neurotypical expectations. And you know, can you tell them to do this? Can you tell them to do that? They're not doing this. You said that they need to do this. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. And it's just, that's okay. Break against me and not against the individual.
It's so interesting that you say neurotypical parents with neurodivergent kids, because we know it's hereditary.
Yeah, the odds of them probably having it too are probably quite high, but undiagnosed, of course, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
But
it
they
is
still,
neurotypical to them, I guess.
yeah, you're bang on there. They're all, and you know, I do break it to them gently. I say, and you know, which one would you like to have? ADHD, autism, etc. And but parents still have this neurotypical expectation. So they might say, "Oh, I struggled through school," or they might have hit a hyper focus. "Oh, I used to make reams and reams of notes. So why isn't he doing that?"
Yeah.
You know, and so the expectations parents have. I mean, this was one of the key reasons that I decided I definitely want to go into coaching. Around that time, we had a few high-profile suicides at university, and it was just hearing about a couple of, again, suicides from students I had taught, and thinking that they're young men, and the scaffolding, and relating it to what happened to me during lockdown. Scaffolding's been taken away, and then looking at the statistics of men in their 50s, they've gone through their whole life scaffolded, they're coming towards the end of their career. What now? They've tried so hard to hold on to family, and suddenly they just haven't got that energy, that power anymore. And what now? And so it just made me think, there is an answer, and there is a reason for all of this, and that's what I'd like to be involved in.
We're on a mission, aren't we?
Yeah, everyone needs a mission.
Yeah.
I love your mission, Sal. Thank you so much for sharing at least part of your story.
Yeah.
The publishable part.
Yeah.
So what's for the future?
I have to keep reminding myself that I've been sort of full-time coaching less than a year. So September will be the first full year. And, you get that little critic coming in your ear saying, you're not making half the amount of money that you used to make. You're not doing this. Look at this. You may be relaxing, but you're not making money. Remember when you were teaching, you could be doing nothing and you're making money, So that critic's there. And then I think less than a year, and look at what I'm doing. Look at how well I'm doing. My health is so much better. I annoy people with two phrases I use about myself: capacity and flow state. So I've hit my flow state, and now if I'm going to from my study to the kitchen, I take my glass with me. I will, anything that needs to be done. If I want to put a shelf up, I buy the parts, and as soon as they arrive, I put the shelf up. I don't leave them somewhere for a year and then look for them. And it took me a while to realize, hang on, I'm doing all of this. Oh, I want to wash my car. I don't even think it. I'll go and wash my car. And and that's the capacity. And I had a discussion with someone about. They said, no, it's not capacity. You're just doing what you want to. So I thought, okay, for these next few days, I'm just going to do what I want to. And so nothing was done. Yeah. So no self-care. My beard grew, and I was like, did I brush my teeth this morning? You know what? As long as I brush them once during the day, it doesn't matter when it is, they're brushed. How teeth don't know, so yeah, it is capacity. It is genuinely having that capacity to be able to do things.
Do you think there's anything there about the combination of ADHD and autism that, I don't know, because I get in these flow states as well, and I can do stuff, and I'm really, really organized. And I'm just wondering if there's this kind of ADHD autism kind of sweet spot where they kind of almost help each other as opposed to battling against each other, or being very, very ADHD or very autistic. I don't know. I've wondered about it before.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because the way I've always thought about it since diagnosis is my autistic side is like Sheldon from
Big Bang.
Big Bang Theory, and he's just judging me all the time with plain logic. And so when I'm in my flow state, he's pointing out, you need to do this, well done. No, you need to do this, well done. and the ADHD side is just compliant, but running off the praise. So I know I do praise myself. I will take the dishes and not only put them in the vicinity of the dishwasher, but actually stack them in a way that they will actually be washed really well. And I will say to myself, well done, you've done that. You know, that's brilliant. You wouldn't have done that a year ago. So I know, and I have this internal dialogue where, well, Sheldon is praising me. Yeah.
It feels like you've got an inner coach there.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned your inner critic a minute ago, and I was going to ask you, do you have a counteracting inner coach? And it sounds like you've just described them.
Yeah. And that became a lot more clear after our conversation previously. And I recognize it again with lots of the people I talk about, the inner coach and the inner critic. And it's, you know, introducing, you've got to be careful because people are thinking you're diagnosing them with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
But
Which we're not, by the way.
But yeah, and I feel that my inner coach is more autistic than ADHD, and my ADHD just wants to run around screaming. Yeah. I remember going to London not so long ago on the train, and coming back, this bodybuilder decided to. I picked the table seat so I could stretch out. I've got a really bad knee, had an ACL, recovered from it, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. I could just sit and relax here. And this bodybuilder gets in, takes 3 seats, even though there's 2 there, and I can't breathe out, never mind stretch. And he got on at Waterloo, and you know, I'm going 2.5 hour train journey, and I started messaging on this coaching group I'm on and saying, right now I'm screaming so loud inside, but I'm still with a smile on my face.
Yeah. That's a bit of a metaphor for ADHD, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking at that moment. The train was absolutely packed. I didn't want to be here. I was out of control, and the train did hit a tree, so we were delayed. And I just got off. I just got off and said, "No, I'm going to figure out a way." I was only 2 stations away. If I have to walk, I would walk. I would have walked.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Sal, we're coming towards the end of our time. It's been, my face hurts.
Yeah, mine too.
It's been so lovely to hear some of your journey, and thank you so much for all your openness and honesty. And don't worry, we will bleep out the name that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Well done, James.
Yeah, thank you. We'll send all the stuff to you as well, but I probably should have said that after the podcast ended, so we'll cut that too.
Yeah,
thank you for making me feel so comfortable.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah.
It's so lovely, and you know, who knows? Maybe we could do it again in a year or so.
Definitely.
And you know, it'd be lovely to have you back to hear how you've been getting on since it's just the first year so far.
Yeah.
Any links that you want to give us, Sal? Just we can put them underneath as well. Just let us know if there's anything you want us to share.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Over to you, Lou.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you to Sal. Please like and subscribe, and see you all soon.
Yeah, see you next time.
Thank you.